Well, I'd like to start today by thanking you all for coming down. Today's debate is titled Print versus Online, and we're going to be chatting about the differences between printed media and online media in terms of publishing. So first of all, I'd like to welcome the panel here. I'd like everybody first to introduce themselves just for a couple of minutes and explain what their role is, where they work. I would also like them to explain whether they work in printed or online matter and whether they use both as a crossover medium. It would also be great if you could give kind of the mission statement of your publication if you do run a publication. So something that would sum up what you do. Okay, so I'll start with you, Adrian.
Sorry, could you speak a bit louder, please? Just because you back here.
They're a long way away, aren't
Yes. Hello.
they? We'll shout. Okay. Do you want me to start?
Yes, go ahead, Adrian.
Well, hi everybody. My name's Adrian Shaughnessy and I'm a graphic designer. I ran a design studio for 15 years and eventually it wore me out and I needed to do something else. And for the past 5 years I've lived I still design an art direct project. I'm also a writer. I've become very interested in writing and I've written a number of books about design. I briefly edited an illustration magazine called The Room, which if there's any illustrators in the room, you might know The Room. And then most recently, well, as a writer I was also a blogger. I was involved in one of the kind of very early design blogs, a blog called Design Observer, which some of you might know. And I've now set up a publishing company, which I think is probably why I'm here. So how do you make a publishing company, an old-fashioned book publishing company, work in the modern era? And I'll perhaps come back to that and explain how we're approaching it. But just to summarise it in a word, and this is probably what the nearest I can get to a manifesto, is we see a kind of hybrid future. We embrace the internet, we don't deny any of the aspects of it. It's there, it exists, it's wonderful, everybody in this room uses it, I use it, but I also love books, and I think there's a place for books, and it's a question of finding a hybrid future where we can have the best of both worlds. So that's my philosophy.
I run a blog called Style Bubble. I started it 4 years ago now, in March 2006. And at the time I wasn't working in the fashion industry, I was working in digital advertising. But then 2 years ago I joined Dazed and Confused as the editor of Dazed Digital. But I've just recently resigned from Dazed, so now I'm working kind of freelance and concentrating on the blog. So in a way I've sort of engaged with how print media works working at Dazed, but because I was concentrating mainly on the website, I'm still very much a digital person, as it were. But now I'm sort of dabbling in both worlds really, but primarily known as a blogger. So. And Style Bubble is really about kind of my personal take on fashion, so documenting my experiences, my thoughts. So it's a very niche take on fashion, but it's been surprising how popular it has been. So hoping to just carry on.
So about 5 years ago I founded Lula magazine. I left last year to start my own project, which is Twin magazine. Lula was, I guess I would describe it as a whimsical, dreamlike interpretation for girls. It was Lula, Girl of My Dreams was the strapline actually, which perfectly encapsulated it. So November last year I decided to start afresh again with a new magazine called Twin Factory, and that is a bit more of a grown-up, slightly more intelligent, a bit more attitudey kind of magazine for girls again mainly, or women. And Lula was mainly print-based, and it addressed the internet a little bit but not properly. And now Twin is more of a book than a magazine really. It's a hardback book, and it's completely online with a blog, which is updated every day. You can buy the magazine online. It's kind of fully working, and it's got all the movies and videos and film on it and all things like that, which kind of give you the full story from the photo shoots that are in the book, so you get the full picture.
So I'm Sandrine Maggiani. I'm Trend Director Europe for Stylesight, which is a online forecasting agency based in New York, but we also have, of course, offices in Paris and satellite offices a bit everywhere around the world. And I detect, I decipher and disseminate all the trends we're talking about. I used to be a fashion and cultural journalist, and also university lecturer about the creative process and communication in fashion. And what else? I also conceived and edited short programs about fashion and culture. So I'm really embracing both worlds, online and print. So here I am.
Okay, thanks very much. Susie, we'll maybe start with you. Could you explain why you turned to the world of blogging as an outlet for your ideas in fashion? Why didn't you perhaps suggest submitting columns to a magazine and try and get into publishing that way?
I think at the time, because I was working in a full-time job and not really considering fashion as a career, you know, starting the blog, it was always, you know, a hobby first, and it was never, you know, because also at the time there weren't that many fashion blogs as well. It wasn't seen as this kind of stepping stone into the fashion industry as it is now, which, you know, so at the time it was always for me a hobby, and I never even, you know, considered myself as a potential journalist. You know, it was just me writing about fashion, writing it in my own way and writing about it, you know, not for any purpose other than to please myself, really. Within 5 minutes you can have a blog and your voice is out there. And for me it was pretty fortunate that within a year or two that the site kind of gained an audience.
You've touched on something there that I think is definitely an advantage of blogging. Anyone can do it. Particularly, I guess, Adrian and then Becki, you have produced printed matter and continue to produce printed matter, which not everyone can do. Do you think that's an advantage to printed matter, or do you think there should be certain standards?
I think nothing's ever going to take away from the fact that people love having something to take home, to feel, to sort of slowly pour over. I mean, I know me personally, like most people now, I tend to work on computers all day and night, and kind of, you know, it's a lovely thing to have something so tangible. So I do think that is an advantage, but then the internet has other advantages over a book that it can't have. You know, I can't have a movie dancing around in here with sound and things like that, so both have advantages over the other.
I agree with you absolutely. I mean, I still like the physical product, but I understand that there are people as a generation growing up who probably won't care about that. And I think one of the problems is, and maybe you as a pure blogger are the best person to really talk about this, but how do you make a living as a blogger? And what that, there's a further complication, because if you blog, then you give your skill as a writer, a commentator, an observer, you give that away for nothing because no one's going to pay for blogs. So we have to look at a way of blogging, if we want to earn a living out of it, which most of us do, what can we do as well as just the blogging? And it's one of the reasons why I've set the publishing company up, because I think if we blog, if we put information out there, if we give stuff away for free, and we have a book to sell, or books to sell, then we can amortize it.